A very good Friday morning to you and welcome to the Fixed Wing Guide channel with me, Stuart Lomas. I hope I find you well. Not a bad morning here in Manchester, a little bit of cloud cover but also a little bit of blue sky, so we'll have to wait and see what nature brings us during the course of the day. What I want to talk about today here is try, if I can, to answer the question, why is it so hard to buy yourself a wristwatch? Depending on your age, I suppose, and your social circumstance and your money situation, it may well be the case that you've never worn a watch, ever. And why? Well, because you're young enough to always have had a mobile phone of some description. Obviously, even the older mobile phones did a few functions other than tell you the time, whereas now, of course, the actual making phone calls seems to be a minor part of what phones can do, and part of those many uses is telling the time. So maybe you've thought, well, I've got my phone, why do I need a wristwatch? But as you've got older, you've thought, well, I know what I'll do. I'm, being invited out to parties, dinner parties, social functions, business functions, where with a suit it will be quite nice to wear a watch, even though I don't consider it necessary. So at that point you say to yourself, well, what I'll do, I'll go out and buy a watch. I mean, how hard can it be? Well, let me try and answer that for you. It can be quite hard, even for us who are seasoned watch wearers, watch buyers, watch admirers. We also have the same kind of problems as you're going to have as a new watch buyer. And why do I say that? Well, I say that because there seems to be, like in a lot of aspects of life, but in watches certainly, many different routes you can possibly take. So I thought the easiest way to actually address this was to go via kind of my evolution, as it were, as a watch buyer over the years. Now, I have mentioned previously that I do own a beta. Now, I know everybody's going to say, well, hang on a minute, Stuart. We all own betas. We all own something that we will wear no matter what comes or goes, and it doesn't matter whether it gets scratched, dented, or whatever. That's fine. Now, I've never shown this watch because, to be perfectly honest, it's not really worthy of video time. But because I'm making this video, I will show it with you. Now, I bought this watch many years ago, and I bought it from a petrol station, and I know that's a running gag, but I bought it because years ago I used to have quite a large garden, which was lovely. The downside of having quite a large garden, of course, is that you have lots of work to do, either actually on the garden itself or in the land of the garden, changing it over years, chopping trees down and so on and so forth. So I went out and bought this watch thinking, well, this actually doesn't matter whether it gets destroyed. So here it is. Now, obviously, it is a complete rip-off of a subby, but it is completely plastic. Nasty, nasty. The loom doesn't work. It is a rotating bezel, and I think it's a 60-click bezel. It's got a date window there, but this was before the days where rubber bands were fashionable. Look at that, it's even got a rubber band. Nasty, nasty stuff. Now, I think this cost me, if I remember rightly, $6.99 from a petrol station. Now, I thought at the time, it doesn't matter whether it gets destroyed. And I wore it and wore it and wore it. And as you can see, actually, it's still in one piece. And I wager, if I put a battery in it, it would work. So that demonstrates the viability of buying a cheap quartz watch. If you ever want a valuable piece of watch that will keep good time, which won't break the bank, actually, buy yourself a cheap quartz. There it is, a nasty, nasty thing. So you kind of move on from that, and you think, no, I want something a little bit better than that. So then you decide, of course, what do I want to spend? Well, I know, let's spend less than £100, less than $150. What can I get for that? Well, you hit all the usual places when you're starting off in this world of watches, and you go to eBay, of course. And many years ago, when life was a little difficult, I still got the itch. I still wanted to buy a nice, decent looking watch. So I went on eBay and I saw a watch that I quite liked, and it was called a Haas & Co. Now, I have done a review of this particular watch, but you never see it in HD before. There it is, a Haas & Co. Now, they get a lot of bullshit history on the site. I mean, it has very little history at all. It's a chronograph, as you can see. It's got a lovely, lovely deep dish. It's got a sapphire crystal. It's got a lovely polished stainless steel case with the name engraved on the side. And it's got a nice leather band. Absolutely lovely. And these are going on the internet at the moment for about £100. When I bought it, it was about 60, I think, 50 or 60 if I remember rightly. I quite like it. I still wear it and it still looks good. You'll notice that the chronograph hand is red. It is usually silver on this model to go with the rest of the hands and the dial. And I customised it. I put a little bit of red nail polish, to be perfectly honest, on it, so it looks a little bit different to any of the others out there. So you're saying, well, that's all right, Stuart, but I don't really want a silver dial. So you say, okay, not a problem at all. You do exactly what I did, and you go out and spend another 50 or 60 pounds, and you buy yourself exactly the same watch. This time I dipped it in yellow, the chronograph, and I think that looks quite striking, the old Ferrari yellow there. So you've now got a choice of two watches, two different colours, exactly the same watch, and if you are a little bit knowledgeable and you know how to do it, you can customise them to your own need. So that's your choice of them. That's lovely. So it's a chronograph. It does everything you could possibly want. So job done then, eh? Well, not so fast. You can also do what I did, of course, when we've referred to this one recently. You think, I'd really, really love a Panerai Luminor, but I can't afford one because they're so much money, but I love them nevertheless. So you say, well, hang on, that's not really a problem these days, because you can go out and buy yourself your Marine Militaire Fiddy, which looks just like a Luminor. It has a 300-metre water resistancy, just like a Luminor. It's big and chunky, just like a Luminor. It's got a lovely strap, just like a Luminor. It's got the massive, great manly buckle, just like a Luminor. So you can do that as well. It's got the crown guard and everything. So you think, great, job done. Not a problem at all. I can live quite happily with all of those. And I said, well, no, can you though? That's the thing. Well, I'm a fan of flying. And I do quite like aeroplanes, you might think. So I might like a Navi timer. Oh yes, I would love a Breitling Navi timer, but very much like the Panerai, they're not cheap. Well, you think, well, okay then, can that be gone round? Say yes, absolutely, of course. So you go out and you buy yourself a rotary Chronospeed, which of course has the turning bezel on the inside there, which is your slide rule for calculating the time flown, the speed, and how much fuel you've got left, just like the Navi timer does, and all this functionality for less than £100. So there you go, it's got everything you could possibly need for that kind of money. So you must be thinking, well, we've got to be getting to the end now of all these choices of watches that are under £100. We think, well, no, hang on just a moment there, because there's another choice that you can go for as far as your flying fascination is concerned. IWC. IWC do a gorgeous, gorgeous big pilot with a massive chamfered crown and a big black dial. I would love one of those, but they're so much money. But hang on just one moment. So you can go and buy yourself your Parnis big pilot, and the only thing that this hasn't got that the IWC has is the stretched second feet complication, which is down here on the IWC, but everything else is just the same. You've got the big buffalo leather strap, which has got the rivets at the top. You've got the lovely deployment clasp strap, which is absolutely fantastic. It's comfortable, it's massive, and it looks every inch the pilot watch. So you think, okay then, well, surely that must be it as far as sub £100 watches are concerned. But I'd quite like a vintage watch. I really would. I feel it would give me that Mad Men chic that I'm looking for in my life. Surely Surely I can't go out into that wild world and find a watch from the 1950s or 1960s that are not going to break the bank. Well, hang on just for a moment here. Because you could go out and buy something like my grandfather's watch, which is sub £100, which is 17 jewels, which is gold plated, which is anti-magnetic, and it's anti-shock, and it's gorgeous, and it still runs, and it's beautiful. It's got gorgeous, gorgeous dial work, and it is a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's 33mm across, and it's just the right size if you happen to be living in 1958 and you've got your slim tie on and your black suit and you go to work with your shiny shoes. It is gorgeous. Look at that, it's beautiful. So yes, and all this magnificence can be bought for less than £100. Make sure it's genuine, make sure there's no great problems, and find yourself a friendly watchmaker who will service it for you. So you're thinking to yourself, excuse me, surely that's it. That's the end of the under £100 watches. Well, no, it isn't, because you're thinking, what I'd really like to show a measure of my success is a two-tone bluesy. Oh yes, those 5 little letters that show how successful you've been. But you can't afford a two-tone bluesy. So what do you do? Well, you do kind of what I did when I asked for a present a couple of Christmases ago. And my beloved bought me my Invicta Pro Diver, which is gorgeous. It doesn't deserve the hatred that Invicta gets. I know some of the big Invictas are absolutely appalling, need hitting with a hammer and dropping into the Marianas Trench. If you don't know what the Marianas Trench is, have a look on WikiLeaks, they'll tell, WikiTube. This is absolutely beautiful. It looks like a two-tone bluesy. It feels like a two-tone bluesy. I know it's not a two-tone bluesy, but it is. It's gorgeous and I love it to pieces, and it's got an exhibition back and everything. And you can probably get all this delight for about £80 on the internet. It has a Seiko 5 movement, so it's as regular as clockwork and it will never let you down. So it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. So now you're thinking, surely that must be it. Surely there can't be anything else. Well, just hang on a moment. So if you're wanting some form of recognisable brand, of course, you can go down the route of probably a 1980s Seiko. Now, we all love Seiko. We know how good they are. They're bulletproof. This is a quartz movement two-tone from about, I would say 1988, something like that. Not massively big, but you can tell by the cushion-shaped case that it's a throwback to the 70s even at that point, but I don't think it is a 70s watch, this one. It is lovely, it is gorgeous, and it's not mine actually. I'm now the custodian of it. It was my mum's partner after my dad died. He owned this and then passed it on to me when he died, and it is lovely. I think it's smashing. I only wear it now and again because his wrists were a little bit smaller than mine and I haven't got the spare links for it, so it goes on now and again, perhaps when the weather's cold and my wrist size has shrunk a little bit. So you can buy that, all this magnificence from Seiko for less than £100. So you must be thinking, well, surely I can buy absolutely anything for under £100. Well, I guess you can, to be honest, more or less. You can find something which will fit the bill for less than £100. So what if you think, you'd quite like to spend a little bit more than £100? What can you get for your money? Well, a couple of years ago for Christmas, and I have done a review on this, have a look in my archives, you can buy something like this. Now, this is a Bulliver. This is a Bulliver Precisionist, the most accurate watch in the world. It has a new quartz movement which vibrates at such a rate that the watch loses probably below 10 seconds a year. 10 seconds a year. And as you can see, if I come closer to the camera, you can see that the second hand is sweeping, giving the impression that it's an automatic, but it's not an automatic. It is a quartz movement. The dial is carbon fiber, and it's a good meaty piece. I think this is 45mm. It is a manly watch. It's got a great silicone strap, massive great big buckle with the Bulliver insignia on it. There you go. It is a great watch, absolutely lovely watch, and it is a professional diver. So, you know, just above the £100 mark, probably £130, you can get something like this, which is certified as the most accurate watch in the world. So, if you're setting out in this world of watches, there are many routes you can take. Now, the problem is there, of course, the first hurdle is choice. I've demonstrated there that below £100, there are multiple choices. You'll see watches from brands that you've never heard of. You'll see watches from brands that you think, well, you know, surely that must be more money, like the Seiko, for instance. You'll be able to get, you know, good quality 200-meter rated Seiko divers for the £100 mark, and you have a variance of straps you can put them on. If you don't like the bracelet it's on, you can buy yourself a nice silicone dive band, or you know, you can buy yourself a NATO strap or something like that. So for a lot of money you can get a lot of watch, but for a little money you can get a lot of watch. So where do you go from there? You're thinking, well, you know, I have no outlay. I'm a relatively young man. I'm in mid-20s, and I think I want to push the boat out slightly. So the problem that you have there, of course, where do you push your boat out to? So you can go out to all your main jewellers and your main authorised dealers and things like that, and you pick up all the glossy catalogues, as I've done, and you leaf through them, and you decide that you want to spend a little bit of money. But perhaps what you want to do is go down the route of pre-owned, which is actually quite a wise move, Mr. Virgin Watch buyer. So you can do perhaps what I did if you have the ready cash, or you are sensible and you can use your credit cards in a very sensible way, or you save up the money as I did. You can wander out there and you can find yourself something like this. We all know what this is. This is the Omega Seamaster 300 Professional pre-coaxial movement Bond, the Pierce Brosnan model. I wanted one of these for a long time. I especially wanted one of these when I saw Andy Hunter doing the review of his coaxial movement, which is a great video if you've not seen it, and a beautiful watch from the outside, near enough identical to this. And I have to say that that bracelet is probably, if not only in my opinion, the most comfortable bracelet that a watch manufacturer has ever come up with. It is absolutely gorgeous, with that dark blue dial and the beautiful bezel. It's absolutely wonderful, complete with the healing release valve, of course. And you can get something like this pre-owned, with certainly box, possibly not papers. This didn't come with papers, but I did speak to the seller before and he seemed a genuine enough guy, for probably about £1,300. Absolutely gorgeous. So you're thinking, right, okay, well, that sounds like a good deal to me, but where can I go if I really want to push the boat out as far as watches are concerned? Well, what you can do is, if you're really lucky, and you are financially secure, or you can attain that financial security without putting yourself in a hole, if you're really fortunate and you are in the right place at the right time, you can find something like that. Now that is my Rolex GMT Master 1 Pepsi bezel, 1969, absolutely gorgeous. I have no idea what this watch would retail for. And why do I have no idea? Because I don't care. This watch is mine. This watch was my dad's. This watch has no value. This watch is priceless. It is beautiful. It is accurate. I don't care that it's COSC. I don't care. I don't care that it's got the Cyclops. I really don't care. I don't care that it's nearly in mint condition. I don't care. But you, as a Virgin Classic watch buyer, you should care, because going out there and buying something like this could possibly mean that this is the only classic watch you will ever have to buy, because wearing something like this means you have good taste, you've taken your time, and you will get, if this type of thing is important to you, you will get respect from even the wearers of the most high class, high value Rolexes or any other timepiece out there that you care to mention if you are in that kind of company. I've never seen another one of these being sold in Britain, I have to say. But then again, I don't take a lot of time mooching through the markets for one of these. Why? Because I own one. So that's kind of where you can go. I would have thought that you're not going to get much change out of 10 grand for one of these. I could be wrong. If I am, let me know down below. So that's kind of where you can go as a pre-owned watch buyer, should you want to. So, trying to tie this up in a little neat bow perhaps, why it's so difficult to buy a watch. Well, I've demonstrated one of the reasons, which is there's so much choice. There is so much choice from the low end of the price range to the massively high end of the price range, and we've not even got to your Richard Meals or anything like that. We're not talking about the high end of horology here. We're still talking about commercial brands when we talk about the Rolex. So there is so much choice out there for not a lot of money, or of course there's lots of choice when you go to the high end of price. But more importantly here, it's so hard to buy a watch because there are so many conflicting opinions, so many opinions that are not affected by bias, snobbery, brand loyalty, availability where you are. I mean, if you don't happen to live in a major city, the chances are that you're not going to have an AD anywhere. If you live in a small town, for instance, you're not going to have an AD for Rolex, you're not going to have an AD for IWC or Panerai, you're not going to have an AD for JLC, you're just not. So it depends where you are, it can restrict you. Going on forums for information is fine, but even there you will find bias, you will find hatred towards certain brands. You will find that attitudes are stuck in a situation where no matter how many times you ask people to try to divorce themselves from their beliefs about their preferred brand, it's hard for you to get unbiased guidance as to what you should buy. So the problem is many and varied as far as watch buying is concerned, which is, you are perhaps coming in as a virgin watch buyer. You know what a watch is. You may have an idea what type of watch you want, but you will have perhaps no idea of the wide variation of different watch styles that there are. So, even if you want a chronograph, you may not know that there's more than just a 3-dial chronograph. You might not know that there are, vertical chronographs or bicompact, or, that there are square dial watches out there with square subdials. You might not know that kind of thing. You might not know about the variation of colours and shades of the dial, the different materials of the dial, the different materials of the bezels and all the liquid metal stuff and the ceramics that are around now. So there's so much to identify before you, the buyer, can make an informed decision. So that's kind of why it's so hard to buy a watch these days. Back in, I would guess, the 20s and 30s, where kind of, my granddad's watch was under development, and you had something like that on the drawing board. Obviously that was moving away from the days where everybody had a pocket watch. Obviously these days people wear pocket watch for special occasions, so you had things like this arriving, and maybe at that point everybody thought, well, that's it, that's the ultimate, that will be how watches are forever and a day. But we know that things change, and change they do. and you as the new watch buyer will suffer from that. So the best thing I would say to you, as always, is get advice, read up, get the catalogues, see what there is out there. Don't believe what they say in the catalogues, because the catalogues are only saying what the manufacturer wants you to read. And decide on your price, decide how you're going to pay for it, and try very, very hard to stick within that. But the golden rule, of course, is don't get yourself in hock for it. So I kind of hope I've given you firstly a little bit of a glimpse of where I started from with that plastic piece of nonsense there, right up to owning that. So it can be done. It can be done. It takes time, it takes interest, and it does take a little bit of dedication from you to educate yourself. But there are sources out there to help you educate yourself, and one of these is, to quote Jeffrey McMahon, the international watch community. We are all out there to be asked questions of. So that's it for this one. Now, just before I go, a little extra milestone. We had the 20,000 views the other week. I've now just hit my 200 subscribers. Thank you very, very much indeed. Most kind. It's absolutely brilliant to see that there's 200 kindred spirits out there that seem to enjoy this particular brand of nonsense that I throw out every other day at the minute, and I will hopefully keep you entertained for a few years to come, yet all being well. As promised, my verbal essay is on its way. I have a feeling that will be out there in the next couple of days. It's a big one, and I will put a warning that it is a big one. So thank you for now. Thank you to all my new subscribers. Thank you for the 200 of you who stick with me. So as always, any questions, queries, suggestions for this kind of nonsense, pop them down below as always. And for now, I'll speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.